by Iranian-backed militia on U.S. forces in Jordan that killed 3 of our soldiers, wounded many others. First and foremost, I'm thinking of those who lost their lives, those who were wounded, their family members, and their friends. Every day, we have our men and women in uniform around the world who are putting their lives on the line for our security, for our freedom. I am, as always, humbled by their courage and their sacrifice. From the outset, we've been very clear in warning that anyone looking to take advantage of conflict in the Middle East and try to expand it, don't do it. We've taken steps to defend ourselves and to defend our partners, as well as to prevent escalation. And the President's been crystal clear. We will respond decisively to any aggression. And we will hold responsible the people who attacked our troops. We'll do so at a time and a place of our choosing. At the same time, we remain focused on our core objectives in the region, both in terms of the conflict in Gaza and broader efforts to build truly durable peace and security. To that end, I had an opportunity to meet today with the Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Qatar on the ongoing effort to get hostages out and to create an extended pause. This is critical to then being able to get to the formula that we've been talking about for putting a durable end to the cycle of violence that we've seen in the region for generation after generation, and the opportunity that exists to actually achieve it, an integrated Israel with relations with all of its neighbors, security commitments, assurances that it needs to make sure that it can move forward in peace and security. Palestinian Authority that's reformed, and a clear pathway to a Palestinian state. That vision and its realization can dramatically change the security circumstance for Israel, for the Palestinians, for all of our partners in the region, and at the same time, isolate the small number of actors who don't want to get there, who have a very different vision for what the future is, notably Iran, a different vision that we see playing out every single day, either directly by Iran or by its proxies. But the way to durable security is through a region that's more integrated, where the relations among its countries are normalized, and where the question of the rights of Palestinians is finally answered. Jens and I had an opportunity today, of course, to talk about the NATO summit and to talk about other matters relating to our alliance. And I have to say that once again, we see that NATO is advancing with a sense of urgency and a strong sense not only of unity of purpose, but unity of action. Just at the very end of last week, Turkey approved Sweden's accession to NATO. Sweden brings tremendous capabilities to the alliance in every domain. Hungary now will have to act in order to complete the process of Sweden's accession, but I fully anticipate that that will happen in the weeks ahead when Hungary's parliament returns. Now, the accession of both Finland and Sweden was far from inevitable. In fact, if you go back a little over 2 years, no one was talking about it. But in the wake of Moscow's renewed aggression against Ukraine, both countries felt that it was clearly in their interest to defend their people and defend their sovereignty by joining the alliance. I think the process that we've seen in actually record time, first with Finland and now with Sweden, demonstrates that NATO's door is open, remains open, including to Ukraine, which will become a member of NATO. This also underscores one of the many ways in which Putin's aggression against Ukraine has been an abject strategic failure for Russia, how it has in fact precipitated the very things that Putin sought to prevent. He wanted to shrink NATO. It is now larger and getting larger still. He wanted to weaken NATO. It is stronger than it's ever been. All of this will, I think, come to an important inflection point when we get to the NATO summit, the historic NATO summit that we are very honored to host in Washington in July. This is going to be, I think, the most ambitious summit since the end of the Cold War, showing NATO's adaptation to new challenges and new threats, whether it's Russia, whether it's very different ways, the PRC, the cyber domain, terrorism. And what you're seeing is an alliance that, as I said, is coming together in new ways and in stronger ways to make sure that it can deal effectively with those challenges. And even as we're celebrating, when we get to the NATO summit, 75 years of its history, the real focus of the summit is going to be on the next 75 years and everything NATO has done to adapt and make itself, as it has been, indispensable to the defense and security of its members. Some of those capabilities and some of that strength was on display as we kicked off the largest NATO military exercises since the end of the Cold War. Steadfast Defender, 90,000 personnel who are sending a very clear message. This alliance is ready, and it is able to defend every square inch of NATO territory. We discussed with the Secretary General NATO's unwavering support for Ukraine. Last week, NATO signed a $1.2 billion contract to produce 220,000 artillery shells. That's going to help allies restock their own arsenals, and it complements efforts by the United States, by the European Union, by Ukraine, to ramp up defense production. This will make NATO itself and all allies much more resilient for future threats as we move forward. As all of us take on these challenges, and I want to emphasize, in the case of Ukraine, we've seen this very, very clearly. There's probably never been a better example of burden sharing in the history of the alliance and the partnerships that we have with different countries than we see when it comes to Ukraine. As I've mentioned before, the support that the United States has provided to Ukraine has been exceptional, about $75 billion over the last couple of years, but our partners and allies, notably our core NATO allies, have provided more than $110 billion over that same period of time. And whether it's military support, whether it's economic support, whether it's humanitarian support, the burden sharing that we've seen in the case of Ukraine has been more than exemplary. But in order to make sure that that continues, that all of us step up and do what's necessary to continue to ensure that Ukraine knows success and Russia knows strategic failure, it is vital that Congress pass the supplemental budget request the President's put before it. Without it, simply put, everything that Ukrainians achieved and that we've helped them achieve will be in jeopardy. And absent that supplemental, we're going to be sending a strong and wrong message to all of our adversaries that we are not serious about the defense of freedom, the defense of democracy. And it will simply reinforce for Vladimir Putin that he can somehow outlast Ukraine and outlast us. Well, that's not going to be the case. We have to make sure that it's not the case. Finally, let me just say that we have a lot of work to do over the next few months to prepare for the summit. I think we had today very good sessions with the Secretary General, and we'll be meeting shortly with the National Security Advisor and the Secretary of Defense over at the Pentagon to continue that work. I look forward to that and look forward to the weeks and months ahead as we prepare for NATO Summit.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.